One bite. Psych. All right, welcome back. So today I will be making a 5-pound roast. Now, 5 pounds sounds like a lot, which it is, and in this economy, you know, wasn't true. So I'm talking about $64 worth of meat, shamelessly, I don't know. Anyway, so I got a grass-fed sirloin, which is really nice and meaty. It's about 1.7 pounds, and then I also got a chuck roast, which is about 3.23 pounds. So together, this is $30, $64 worth of meat. And it's meat from the butcher block in Henderson, Nevada. And so this is where I chose to go. Not that other stores didn't have other meat, I just know that they have really good quality. So anyway, basically I'm gonna make a 5-pound roast. Essentially, I am going to brown it in this large cast iron pan, I guess, I don't know. Either way, I'm gonna brown it in this pan first, and then I'm going to season it and put it in the oven and let it cook until it falls apart. I'm keeping my seasoning on the more savory side because it is a 5-pound roast. I don't want it to be the same flavor every day. And what I mean is, if I make a basic savory flavor, then I can take the leftovers and make other dishes. Right now, the plan to do the other dishes, the plan for the other dishes, this first dish is going to be some roast with some caramelized gravy and roasted potatoes and corn. The second dish, it will be tomorrow. Using the leftovers, I plan on making a savory ramen bowl. So I will be going to the Asian store to get fresh noodles, broth bases, all the jazz. There'll also be a video for that. And then the third day, because usually with ramen bowls, you do put other components. So I do have some wontons. I'm probably gonna get some shrimp tempura. So I'm pretty sure there'll still be some leftover meat. So I'm gonna probably either make shredded beef enchiladas, barbacoa enchiladas with homemade enchilada sauce and the melting cheese. It's a Mexican name, and I'm so sorry, I can't pronounce it, but it starts with the C. It's that really stretchy, melty cheese that will go along with my beef enchiladas. So that is what I'm planning to do today. So I'm gonna start off by opening the meat. All right, so I'm gonna first start off with opening the sirloin. And this was in the freezer because I bought it over the weekend. So if it looks a little brown, there's nothing wrong with it. But this is the sirloin. Nice, juicy. Remember, with red meat, if it oxidizes a little bit, it turns, but there's nothing wrong with my meat. So that is that. I do like both meats to have a nice chunk of fat in there because that allows the meat to get really tender. I've noticed that, like, with cuts of like a lemon broil, you get that more lean version of beef. So anyway, now my chuck roast didn't turn too much. This might have been because this was smaller and defrosted faster. So anyway, so this is my chuck roast here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful chuck roast. This was the last one they had in store, so you know it was serious. So I'm going to come back and show you these while they're browning. I'm gonna brown them essentially with nothing on them at first. And then once I brown all the pieces, before I put it in the oven, I'm gonna show you the seasonings that I'm gonna add to it. And we'll just go from there. So we're gonna go ahead and drop that right on in. Just like this in. Really nice. That is a very nice feel. Nice. Very, very. All right, so now we should be back with a more decent sear. So I'm going to flip this over and let it sear some more. So let's see, we got a nice little brownness like that. I'm gonna do the other side. Not really worried about the end pieces. Okay, I guess my mood was, you know, my mood. So anyway, I am continuing to brown this just a little bit more. As you can see, it's definitely far from done. Far from done, which is fine. Now I'm going to put this pot back, and I'm also going to put the meat back on in. It's gonna sizzle a little bit, which is fine. And chances are this meat is going to cook faster because it's thinner. So I'm just gonna put that in there so that it all fits. A super basic roast, right? I'm going to add a significant amount of seasonings. I'm not going to use fresh garlic or onion in this portion of it. This is my preference. I feel like fresh onions and things are gonna contribute to the liquid, which is fine. It's really not that. I just don't see the point being that I'm going to make this in 3 different ways. I want the meat to kind of stay, I don't know. I just feel like I don't need to add onion and garlic based off of what I'm doing to it later, and plus the seasonings I'm gonna include. So, all right. So essentially these are the seasonings that I'm going to be using. I will be using a salt-free seasoning mix. In this mix, there is onion, black pepper, celery seed, marjoram, basil, mustard seed, cayenne pepper and parsley, garlic, carrot, citric acid, and oil of lemon. I will also be adding in Italian seasoning, which has marjoram, thyme, basil, rosemary, savory, and oregano. I will also be using a roasted garlic and red bell pepper mix. This has a plethora of seasonings in it, but some of the same ones that I've already listed. This one adds coriander. I will be also adding some ground sage, some sweet paprika, of course the holy grail, onion and garlic. I'll be using some black pepper, some unsalted beef broth, and some more Worcestershire sauce. I may add beef bouillon, I don't know yet, but we shall see. I don't know if I'm gonna necessarily need it. So what I am going to do, I'm going to take my mortar and pestle. Now me, I don't care. I'm not doing all that deep dive and cleaning for a mortar and pestle. So I'm gonna add in some this seasoning. Now keep in mind, this is 5 pounds of beef. You will need a lot of seasoning, okay? You can't skimp on the seasoning for this. So I will be heavily endorsing some seasoning for this here. As you can see, I'm going big body style. You know what I mean? We pouring it directly from the top while we're gonna play with it. Italian seasoning, as quiet as it's kept, Italian seasoning is like a hidden gem for meats. It literally doesn't even matter what kind of meat you're making almost, because this is gonna, Italian seasoning, it's gonna come in handy. So I'm going in with some onion powder. I know that looks like a lot, but I'll probably even add a little bit more seasoning to just make sure. And I'm gonna add some garlic seasoning. Because like I said, this is 5 pounds of a roast. You know what I mean? This is not like something light. So, and I just feel like the best savory comes from a nice mix of seasonings. So, I'm gonna do that. Take my pesto, and I'm just gonna slowly grind it. Now I know it looks full, but as you continue to grind it, it will break down. It doesn't have to be perfectly small. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, super small, but at least grind down some of those spices so that it can mix well with the rest. Uh-oh, I woke my husband up, y'all. My bad. He gonna cuss me out. I'm sorry, BG. I was in here fanning it when he was smoking, and then it just, I'm so sorry. Good thing the camera ain't faced the other way, huh? Huh? So, this is a nice, no. This is a nice little mix right now. I'm gonna mix it a little bit more, just to give it some extra And then I'm going to move this on over. Come back with a little bit of a. So now I am going to go in And generously, like I said, you see there's still some chunks. That's fine. I just didn't want as many as I had. You know what I mean? Like, go in there. This is no longer hot. So I can go in here, rub it on in, flip it like I'm doing right now. Flip it. Take my other hand, since this is the rubbing hand, so I don't create a bunch of like stickiness. Now I didn't add salt yet because I just feel like with salt in particular, you can always just add that at the end. It's salt. You know what I mean? It's salt, and sometimes you will over salt your food. I don't like my food salty. As you can see, I'm a plus size girly, so I ain't trying to like, you know, contribute to nothing else. Bad enough on how to cook. So I'm gonna put this in the oven. I still have some seasoning left. I'm gonna save this probably for the gravy and the potatoes that I'm gonna make later. Now I'm also going to go in with a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. This is just gonna help increase the savory flavor. And yes, I do put a good amount because we want that flavor. And I'm gonna also go in with this broth, because I know that a chuck roast and a sirloin will cook out some of their juices, but I want to have enough juice to make gravy, and then I also want to have enough to make a broth. So the broth that's going to come from this, when this meat is done, I'm going to drain and separate to keep for different meals. One's going to be for some gravy, one's going to be for some broth. I might, if I have enough, to do the enchilada sauce for the enchiladas. So anyway, we're going to go in here, pour this over the meat, because I want this to be tenderism. All right, it's a little bit left, but that's how I want it to look ideally for now. So I'm gonna cover this, put this in the oven, and I'll be back in like 3 to 4 hours. Now we are back. This is about almost 2 hours since this has been done. Ooh, I don't know if y'all can see it. I'm gonna scoot it a little closer. Look at that. Oh my God, it looks so good. I'm so excited to get to that. So right now, this is about 2 hours. We're gonna test out the level of tenderism. We're not quite there yet, but we working. That part's tender. That part's tender. So we are working on the tenderism. I'm gonna flip this just because we want tenderism across the board. You feel me? So just like that. And we're gonna kind of fold this back underneath. It's a big old chunk of meat, guys. Ooh, there we go. Struggling. Struggle is real, and I just burnt myself. Oh, but you know, I'm gonna go back and cover it. It's real. It's getting tender though. So I'm gonna go back and cover this and put this back in the oven for about another 2 hours, and then it should be done. So it's a lot of broth in here. This is not as much as I had hoped, but that's okay, because when I make the enchiladas, I can make my own enchilada from scratch, enchilada sauce from scratch. So I don't actually need the broth. I just wanted it, but this is a good enough broth for me to use for tonight to make some gravy and tomorrow to make some ramen broth. So that's that. It's getting tender though. Tenderism is on the way. It's on the way. So I don't want to splash and lose no more broth. So I'm gonna close this back and put it in the oven, and I'll be back in 2 hours. All right, so we are back. It has been about a little less than 4 hours. Lost my fork here. So, this is, I don't wanna, is it tender? Is it tender? I think it's almost a tenderism, but I ain't trying to get burned. So we're gonna flip it one more time. Little under 4 hours. I know this, now this, that's tenderism there. That one's ready to go. So like I said, this piece is definitely gonna take longer because it's bigger. So I'm gonna cover it, put it back up. I am currently making my mashed potatoes. I'm getting ready to show you how I'm gonna make my caramelized gravy. And that's gonna be that. I will be stilling some of the juice, but I can wait until the roast is a little bit more done. So this, it's tender, but it's not tenderism. So I want it to be tender like this. How that fell off the fork, how I can just break that with the fork. That's tenderism. See what I'm saying? So anyway, We're gonna continue to cook this, and I'm gonna show you how to make the gravy. All right, so you're gonna start off with putting a whole stick of butter into a warmed pan or skillet or pot, whatever you prefer. You're gonna slowly let the butter melt. Then I'm gonna add in about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of chopped white onion. Feel free to add more or less, whichever you wanna do is up to you. Just make sure the butter is enough to cover the onions fully, because if not, you're probably gonna end up with some like really charry onions that's more, I don't know, more burned. I guess you could say more charry, deeper browning, but I don't want that. I want caramelized onions. So I'm going to show you the roast real quick. After 30 minutes of being back in the oven, I just continue to let it cook. And as you can see there, slowly but surely, as I continue to examine this beautiful cut of beef, boom, we're going to hit tenderism before you know it. You know what I mean? And people always think that, like, you know, with roast, you can cook them real quick. You can't. Unless you use an Instapot, you're going to need that. So I just continue to break apart the meat. As you can see, it's clearly tender because it's breaking apart with just a fork. Back to these onions. So I let them sweat for a little bit before I added the garlic. You want to make sure that they're fully translucent before you add the garlic, because garlic cooks so quickly. It can burn real easily. So make sure everything is evenly coated. And then as you can see, this is where the magic is literally going to begin. As you can see, everything is now starting to get a nice brown kind of color. You don't want it to get charry. You want it to stay this golden color, as you can see here. You want to have the flour real close to you. So I added anywhere between 5 to 7 tablespoons of flour, more than likely. Just because I didn't measure, I'm going to use that as an estimate. I know that that is a big spoon I'm using, so anyway, I'm going to mix this kind of like a roux. You're going to let everything kind of melt together real quick. And you're going to let it brown just a little bit. Now I'm going to add in the beef broth from the roast. As you can see, there's little chunks of meat in there. And who doesn't like that in their gravy? I mean, is it gravy without a little bit of meat in there? Give that a nice mix till everything is nice and combined. And I'm going to let it come to a slight simmer as I add the seasonings. And then once I'm done adding the seasonings, I'm going to give that another mix as it thickens up. And then I'm going to turn it down, because the gravy won't thicken if you don't turn it down somewhat. It's going to continue to stay liquidy because it's too hot. So anyway, as you can see, boom, we got this beautiful gravy. If the gravy don't stick to the spoon, it's not gravy, it's juice. And don't get me wrong, I love my juice off my meat too. Sometimes it don't have to be gravy. I didn't even know that shit was going to be hot. Okay. Ooh, all right. Look at that. It's all tender now, baby. Tender now. Tender. Tender. If your roast is not tender like this, falling apart, I do not want any parts of it. You can keep that, baby. Or cook it a little longer for me. Anyway, the trick to a juicy roast is adequate beef, the right cut of beef, and slow and steady. Patience. Whether you use a crock pot, do it in the oven. Either way go, patience is going to be your friend with making a roast. So, y'all, the struggle was crazy real right here. I don't know why I couldn't figure out how to, like, put these mashed potatoes on there, but I wanted it to have a dividend so that way I could put the meat and the gravy could hold. That way the gravy doesn't go all over the plate. I don't know if that makes sense to people or not. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to put down the beef roast there. I'm going to put down a little bit more just because, I mean, I need some more meat on that plate. I mean, what is that? What is that? Okay. So I'm going to remove that little chunk of fat. And this is the winner right here. Look at the gravy, y'all. The gravy to me was the star of the show. I feel like the roast was the roast, but the star of the show to me was the gravy. I don't know why. Maybe I like gravy. I don't make gravy too often. So when I do make it, I like to make it rich and delicious, just like me. Anyway, this is the final plating. I could have used a smaller plate, but I love how this plate cups and kind of is like a plate bowl situation.
Yo, 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 yo.
All right. So this is the final product. This is the caramelized onion with the roast beef, some mashed potatoes, and some corn. So, you know, I got to give it a taste because, you know, it's mine. So, you know what I mean? We're going to look at that. Pull that right on off. Right? With a little bit of, you know. Caramelizing your onions and garlic. That's a fatty piece right there. See that? But Pulled it right on off. Smoking too. Mm. I'm trying to be greedy, but. Woo. Want a bite?